The deepest place on Earth is not a place of monsters. It is a place where the entire ocean presses down on you with a weight so immense that even mountains would crumble beneath it. And somehow, this is where you live. 11 kilometers below the surface. Far below sunlight. Far below storms. Far below the world that remembers what the sky looks like. At the bottom of the Mariana Trench, you exist in a darkness so complete that day and night no longer mean anything. The ocean above you has become a second planet. And every moment you survive here feels borrowed. The journey begins with the disappearance of light. At first, the ocean seems familiar. Blue water. Dancing reflections. Gentle currents. The kind of sea people imagine when they think about the ocean. But as your vessel sinks deeper, the blue slowly fades. The sunlight becomes weaker. The surface becomes distant. The world above begins to look like a memory. Hundreds of meters pass. Then thousands. The last traces of daylight disappear behind you. Ahead waits only darkness. Not the darkness of a moonless night. Not the darkness of a closed room. A deeper darkness. An ancient darkness. A darkness that has existed uninterrupted for millions of years. The lights from your submersible become tiny islands in an endless black sea. Everything outside their reach simply ceases to exist. You keep descending. The pressure grows stronger. Every few meters, another invisible layer of weight settles upon the vessel. The ocean is no longer water. It feels more like stone. An enormous crushing force pressing from every direction. By the time you reach the bottom, the pressure is over 1,000 times greater than what humans experience at sea level. One mistake. One crack. One weakness. And the ocean would erase you before your brain could even recognize what happened. Then, at last, the descent ends. The Mariana Trench welcomes you. Silently. The first thing you notice is how empty it feels. People imagine the deepest ocean as crowded with terrifying creatures. Instead, it resembles a forgotten desert. A vast plain of fine sediment stretches into darkness. The ground is covered with particles that have drifted down from the surface for thousands of years. Tiny fragments of life. Tiny fragments of death. A constant snowfall from a world you can no longer see. The silence feels endless. No birds. No wind. No rustling leaves. Only the faint hum of machinery inside your habitat. Beyond the walls lies one of the quietest places on Earth. Sometimes you stare into the darkness through thick observation windows. Nothing moves. Nothing changes. Hours pass. Then suddenly a pale shape drifts through the black water. A ghostly fish. A transparent shrimp. A creature whose ancestors adapted to darkness long before humanity existed. It appears. Then disappears. As if the trench briefly remembered life before forgetting it again. You begin to realize something unsettling. The bottom of the Mariana Trench does not feel like part of Earth. It feels like another planet hidden beneath the ocean. A place that was never meant for human eyes. Eventually, you stop thinking about sunlight. At least, that's what you tell yourself. Your artificial lights create a permanent day inside the habitat. The clocks continue counting hours. Schedules continue. Meals continue. Work continues. Life goes on. Yet something feels different. The human mind evolved beneath the sky. It expects mornings. It expects sunsets. It expects clouds and seasons and changing weather. Here, none of those things exist. Outside your window, the darkness never changes. It is exactly the same at midnight. Exactly the same at noon. Exactly the same tomorrow. And next month. And next year. The trench does not care about time. The trench does not care about calendars. The trench exists in an endless present. Sometimes you find yourself trying to remember the color of a sunset. Not because you've forgotten it, but because you miss seeing it. You miss simple things. Rain against the window. Birds crossing the horizon. The warmth of sunlight on your skin. Things that once seemed ordinary now feel unimaginably precious. The deeper your isolation becomes, the more valuable the surface world appears. Every day, you become aware of the ocean. Not because you can see it, because you can feel it. 11 kilometers of water stand above your head. A mountain of liquid stretching all the way to the surface. The knowledge never leaves you. You walk through narrow corridors. You perform maintenance. You eat. You sleep. And always, somewhere in the back of your mind, remains the awareness that an entire ocean hangs above you. The habitat becomes your universe. Its walls become your horizon. Its rooms become your world. Everything outside represents instant death. There are no casual walks. No stepping outside for fresh air. No wandering into the distance. The trench allows no mistakes. Even routine maintenance feels sacred. Every bolt matters. Every seal matters. Every system matters. Because survival here depends on hundreds of tiny things working exactly as they should. The deepest place on Earth teaches an uncomfortable truth. Civilization is thinner than people think. Life often depends on fragile systems quietly doing their jobs. And nowhere is that truth more obvious than here. Life still exists in the trench. Against all logic. Against all expectation. Life survives. Small fish glide through darkness. Strange crustaceans crawl across the sediment. Microorganisms flourish in places that seem impossible. Some creatures generate their own light. Tiny flashes of blue and green appear beyond your windows. Brief sparks in an otherwise endless black void. The lights blink on, then vanish. Like stars appearing and disappearing in a night sky. You watch them for hours. Not because they are spectacular. Because they remind you that you are not entirely alone. The trench contains countless lives hidden within its darkness. Most remain unseen. Most remain unknown. Scientists continue discovering new species here. Even now. Even after centuries of exploration. The deepest parts of Earth remain mysterious. You begin to appreciate how little humanity truly understands about its own planet. The abyss humbles you. Not through violence, but through scale. Through mystery. Through the realization that enormous portions of reality exist beyond human experience. The hardest challenge is not pressure. It is loneliness. The trench slowly changes your relationship with distance. The nearest city might as well exist on another world. The nearest forest feels impossibly far away. Even the sky starts to feel fictional. You still communicate with people. Messages arrive. Updates arrive. Voices arrive. But something is missing. Human beings were not built to spend years separated from open horizons. Sometimes you dream of standing on a beach. Nothing extraordinary happens in the dream. You simply stand there. Watching waves. Watching clouds. Feeling sunlight. When you wake, the memory hurts. Because the dream feels more alive than the darkness outside your window. The trench teaches you that beauty is often invisible until it disappears. You never fully appreciated the surface until you left it behind. Years pass. The darkness remains unchanged. The ocean remains patient. The trench remains silent. And gradually, your perspective changes. You stop measuring life by achievements. You stop measuring life by possessions. The abyss strips away distractions. What remains are simpler things. Connection. Curiosity. Wonder. Survival. You realize that life itself is astonishing. Not because it is powerful. Because it is fragile. The creatures outside survive impossible conditions. The habitat survives impossible pressure. You survive impossible isolation. Everything here exists against overwhelming odds. And somehow, it continues. The trench becomes a teacher. A harsh teacher. A quiet teacher. A teacher that never speaks. Yet every day it reminds you that existence is far more improbable than most people realize.